morning, Kuhner Country. Okay, my friends, President Trump is now the 47th President of the United States. He was officially sworn in yesterday at high noon, and it's already a different country. It really is. It's incredible. In the last 24 hours, what has already transpired in the fruited plain in this great nation of ours. And I want to play it one more time. I'm sure many of you saw it, but there was President Trump with Chief Justice John Roberts, First Lady Melania Trump holding not one but two Bibles, one of them being Abraham Lincoln's Bible. And from this point forward, my friends, a new era, a new chapter, God willing, a new golden age has begun. Roll cut one, Mike.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Yes! Yeah, baby! That's what I'm talking about! Yeah! All right, so, look, let me just say a couple of things, and then obviously I want to throw it right to the phone lines. I'd love to go to calls, honestly, right after the opening monologue. So right after this segment, I'd want to hear from you, Kuhner Country, and get your reaction. 617-266-6868. We're going to start loading up the phone lines right away. Did you watch the inaugural address? Did you watch the inauguration? What did you make of it? Trump has already signed in the last 12 hours. Listen to this. Over 200 executive actions and executive orders. It is the greatest flurry of executive orders in American history. I thought he delivered, to be brutally honest, one of the most important, powerful, and patriotic inaugural addresses in American history. What I loved about it on many fronts was he laid out very clearly the crisis that we as a country face. And make no mistake about it, my friends, we face a very serious crisis. 4 years of the Biden regime, 4 years of Democrat misrule and mismanagement and incompetence have now put our country in a very dire situation. You know it. I know it. Frankly, the nation knows it, which is why it gave Trump a decisive mandate. And as I said on X, and I want to repeat it, what you heard last night was the mandate, or yesterday, what you heard yesterday in that inaugural address was the anti-Biden and Trump's pledge, his vow to reverse all of the destructive policies of the Biden regime. Every single one of them. And that's what he said in his inaugural address. The American people have realized that Joe Biden has been one giant catastrophic mistake. And they sent me to fix and overturn and reverse all of it. Every single bit of it. And that was essentially his inaugural address. And so he recognized the crisis that we're in, and then he offered to me a very powerful, optimistic, upbeat, honestly almost soaring response and solutions to all of our problems. And in a nutshell, what Donald Trump said is, we're going to fix everything that Biden has done, and we're going to bring American pride, American prosperity, American ambition, American greatness back. Back. I want you to listen now, because there were several memorable lines. To me, this inaugural address is very much akin, and again, you may disagree with me, but I'm just calling it the way I see it. Remember Kennedy, John F. Kennedy's famous, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. This, in many ways, Trump had multiple lines that I think are going to resonate for generations to come and into the history books. One of them is America's decline is over. It's over. And I've been given a mandate to make America great one more time. Roll cut 4, Mike.
My recent election is a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal and all of these many betrayals that have taken place, and to give the people back their faith, their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom. From this moment on, America's decline is over.
Yes. Yes. I thought it was a great line. I thought he had so many powerful passages in his speech. And look, if you're looking for a philosophical core to what he's laying out, essentially it's American nationalism and American patriotism. We are going to secure our borders. We are going to restore manufacturing. We are now going to make ourselves not just energy independent, but energy dominant. We seek no more wars, but we will defend our interests around the world. We will rebuild our military, and we will be respected on the world stage again. My friends, it was an incredible speech. And immediately, this is to me what is almost even more impressive, is he then went to the Capital One Arena. I've never seen this. This is completely unprecedented. And in front of 25,000 cheering supporters and voters, he brought a desk, he brought a chair, he brought a pen, I'm not kidding, and a stack of executive orders. And on the intercom, they're announcing, okay, so this executive order now declares a national emergency on our southern border. And he signs it. And the crowd's like, yeah. And then he says, and this executive order reinstates remain in Mexico. Yeah. And it was one after another after another. It went on for hours. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible. And so, as I talk to you now, he has already signed over 100 executive orders, 200 executive actions. The southern border has now been secured. Remain in Mexico has been reinstated. We have declared a national emergency. The border invasion has now been stopped and repelled. The U.S. military, as I speak to you, is now along the southern border. Illegals, you can see the pictures, are already being told, go back. But there's so much more. As I talk to you now, we are now drilling for oil on federal lands, offshore drilling. Already, the markets are saying inflation is starting to come down within 24 hours. Energy prices are starting to go down. And he went on and on. We have withdrawn from the Paris Climate Accords. DEI is dead across the entire federal government. Censorship has now been abolished. Freedom of speech is back. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. My friends, we are now watching, as Trump said, a revolution. A revolution of common sense, a revolution of American renewal, a revolution of American patriotism. America is back. Did you watch the inauguration? Did you watch the inaugural address? And what do you make of it? Your calls next. 6:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, as Trump put it very powerfully yesterday will go down in history as Liberation Day. Did you watch the inauguration, the pomp, the ceremony? Did you watch or listen to Trump's inaugural address? Were you as impressed with it as I was? The New York Times and the media hated it, of course. They are viciously attacking Trump. They're not letting up at all. The New York Times said it was a grim, depressing speech. I'm like, what, you think we didn't hear it? You think we didn't see it? Like, the world heard it. You can't lie to us about the speech. It was, to me, the exact opposite. It was very upbeat, very positive, very optimistic, very forward-looking, very ambitious. Honestly, it was one of the best, if not the best inaugural address I've ever heard in my entire life. But that's me. I want to hear from you. 617-266-6868. Lines are loaded. I want to go to the phone lines. Let me just say one last thing, and you tell me again if you agree or disagree. It wasn't just the content of the speech and the way he delivered it. What was, to me, delicious, I'm sorry, there's just no other word, was that he delivered it. And at times it was a scathing indictment. A searing criticism of Joe Biden's policies, of the Democrats, of Democratic misrule and mismanagement, of everything they stand for. And he said it right to their face. And they had to stand there and listen. Biden and Kamala were about, 3, 4, 5 feet away. And they had to stand there and take it. And take it and take it. Obama was there and he had to take it. Bill and Hillary Clinton had to take it. George W. Bush had to take it. Honestly, I'm like, oh, I'm loving this. Oh, am I loving this? So to me, that was almost like an added bonus to the speech. It was the only thing, as I said on X, and then that's it. I want to go to the phone lines. I said it was an absolutely perfect speech. The only thing that I would have liked is if Trump did one more thing, is if he then walked over to Biden and said, hey, Joe, you're under arrest for treason. That's it. Because as many of you know, within minutes of Biden leaving the presidency, forget pardoning Milley and Fauci and Liz Cheney and the J6 committee, within minutes, about 15 minutes before he left the White House, he pardoned his crime family. Frankie, Jimmy, his sister Valerie, her spouse, all of the people, the bagmen who had shadow accounts and got massive money, sources of foreign money that, of course, ultimately went to the big guy. Now, Trump says he didn't know about this because, the guy's pretty much on stage. He had no idea Biden did this behind his back, literally minutes before Biden left the presidency. So he says, or else I would have said something right in my inaugural. But to me, that was the only thing. Outside of that, perfection. Agree, disagree. Angelo in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Angelo, and welcome.
It's finally back. America's coming back. All those pronouns can go into donkey's rear end, don't you think? We can say Merry Christmas. We can be Americans. And if you want to be transgender, whatever it is you want to be, we're okay with that. Just don't force it down our throats. That's all we're saying. Have a good time. Stay in your lane, and we don't care what you do, but you people seem to care what we do. So sit back, get on the back of a pickup truck, you see the bull balls? They can strap them on and go for the ride, because what a ride we're going to have. And for the ladies that want to be men, ladies are ladies, men are men. And remember, ladies, it takes 12 inches to be a ruler. And that's what we have in as a president, a real ruler. And we're going to get respect. And I am so happy for America and all the people who lost their lives. I'm a Gold Star parent, and I have skin in the game, and I miss my son dearly, and I'm proud, for what he did for America and all the other people, Gold Star families and all veterans and everybody, the ladies and men. There's even gays in the military that I salute you. Thank you for your service. But now they stopping all that training for transgender and stuff because it doesn't matter. If you're a good person deep inside and you're for America, you're on the team. We're all one, and that's what we are, and let's get it going. And look at that. Drill, baby, drill. Can you believe it? Can you believe it?
Angelo, I listen, I want to thank you for your service. And again, I'm very sorry for the loss of your son. But God bless you, all of you Gold Star families. God bless you. This election was for you, for all of us, but it was for you. 6:31 on the great WRKO Liberation Day, my friends. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me ask all of you, Kuhner Country. Many Democrats, the media, they were hysterical yesterday. I'm going to get to that a little bit later in the show. I mean, they lost their minds, their collective minds. I mean, I didn't recognize the speech by the time they were done with it. I mean, this was Hitler. I'm not kidding. Trump is a dictator now. What you saw yesterday, I mean, they're insane. He's a dictator on day one. Look what he did. What, sign executive orders? What, secure the border? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. You serious? He did it? My friends, pathetic. Honestly, pathetic. They have no credibility left. But the argument that many kept making in the media and among many Democrats was that it was unpresidential of Trump, that it was rude and insulting and unstatesmanlike for him to have blasted and excoriated Biden's policies. He never mentioned Biden's name, but it was obvious when he's going on about the evils of open borders and unlimited illegal immigration and the crime in our cities. And we all know who he's referring to. Or when he talked about how the failure of our healthcare system, it was Obamacare. So that he criticized Democrat policies and Democrat incompetence and Democrat misrule and said, I am here to reverse and overturn all of it. That's going to be the defining goal of my presidency. Many said it was grossly inappropriate for an inaugural address. You know my position. I think it's exactly what the country needed to hear. I think it's exactly what that corrupt establishment and those leaders, if we can call them that, needed to hear. But I want to hear from you, Kuhner Country. So the poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Was it inappropriate? Was it wrong for Trump to blast Democrats and Democrat policies during his inaugural address? A, yes. B, no. I want to hear from you, Kuhner Country. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhner. You can also vote via X. I was very active yesterday. My handle on X, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, Kuhner. Let's go to Anthony in Michigan. Thanks for holding, Anthony, and welcome.
Dr. Kuhner, let me start. I'm a little belated on this, but I'd like to say, in regards to your dad, you are the good son, and that says it all.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Anthony.
Yes, I watched, and I was gobsmacked by the executive orders and a couple of minor things. Melania's hot. The brim was so large, it reminded a lot of people of V for Vendetta, and it was so large he couldn't get a kiss in on her. And when Barron whispered in Joe's ear, I have a feeling he said, Fredo, I know it was you. No, seriously, Jeff. I was a little down that day when I found out that he let his whole crime family off. It was so ski-voos, Jeff, ski-voos. But I got to tell you, I am so optimistic the last few months. No one's looking at the big picture here. Specifically, they lawfared Elon almost into non-existence, and we're on the cusp of self-driving electric cars, his Optimus bots. Jeff, there's 3 electrical vertical takeoff and landing aircraft in serious FAA certification, and nuclear power is making a comeback. This would not have happened under Joe Biden. We're going to look like the Jetsons soon. People don't realize it's just going to be phenomenal, and I am so optimistic.
Me too. Anthony, I got to tell you, I'm like looking at the media, and they're like, oh, this is such a somber, depressing, grim speech. I'm like, what planet are you people what planet are you people living on? It was completely a confident, optimistic, forward-looking. Hell, he even talked about planting the American flag on Mars. And I don't know if you saw that. Elon started going nuts in the back. He's pumping his fists. The crowd starts going up. Everybody's clapping, standing ovation. I don't know what these people are talking about. No, look, Anthony, to me, what really struck me about the inaugural address, and I want to just play a little bit of it, is how, in some ways, he intertwined his own personal story with the nation's destiny. And I'll play this a little bit later. He talked about how he survived a bullet. It tore through his ear. And that he became convinced that on that field in Butler, Pennsylvania, that the good Lord saved him because he had a mission to make America great again. And what I saw from the president yesterday was a determination, almost a ferocity, a will, a seriousness. He knows that God saved him for a specific purpose, and he now wants to fulfill that purpose to the letter. And that's why he told his staff, he said, have a good time, go to the balls, enjoy our victory, but don't enjoy it too much, because I want you all at the office bright and early. We've got a lot of work to do the next day, i.e. today. In other words, he's going to work his team to the bone. And, he didn't celebrate very much. He was signing executive order after executive order after executive order. So he was already going to work. Listen now to him. And this is, to me, to sum it all up, Trump's inauguration yesterday, in my view, and you may disagree, Anthony, wasn't just the greatest political comeback in American history, maybe arguably in world history. In some ways, it was a political resurrection. After January 6th, you look at the polls, you look at his reputation, especially among the political media class. He was dead. He was dead politically and buried. And like a phoenix rising from the ashes, listen now to Trump saying, if I can win, and if I can be resurrected, our country can be resurrected. Roll cut 15, Mike.
Many people thought it was impossible for me to stage such a historic political comeback. But as you see today, here I am. The American people have spoken. I stand before you now as proof that you should never believe that something is impossible to do. In America, the impossible is what we do best.
Oh, I love it. That's a great... He had so many lines like this. And it's true. The impossible is what we do best. Anthony, final word to you.
Jeff, the Holy Spirit works in mysterious ways. Did you see about a week ago he made Sly Stallone, speaking of being a fighter, John Voight and Mel Gibson honorary ambassadors to Hollywood? Did you see 2 of them with the UGR hats on, the Underground Railroad for Saving Children? This is going to be big.
From your lips to God's ears. Thank you very much, Anthony. I agree with you. We're on the cusp now of an historic presidency. It's beginning, don't get me wrong. And he started with these historic executive orders. And now we got to fulfill it. We got 4 years, and I believe he will do it. John in Malden. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. Morning.
Good morning, John.
I was at my light switch. I was at my light switch, and it was off. And when I turned it on for the light, that's when Trump was, like, right there. So that's what it was like, a light switch being turned off and turned on. I missed part of it when it was being sworn in. I had to go do some shoveling in the driveway. I was watching some more of it, and seeing him sign those executive orders was thrilling. It was very thrilling. It was very, very exciting. Very exciting moment for everybody to watch what he was doing. So the questions I got to ask is, it was kind of odd seeing Jeff Bezos and Zuckerberg over there watching right on stage. And also, what about some of the people that, to me, felt kind of like left behind, like the lady lawyer, Sydney, what's her name, that helped him out for the elections from the last time, and also I can't spell out his name fast enough.
Well, John,
Giuliani.
you're talking about Giuliani? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, no,
Yeah,
John. Yeah, John, thank you for that call, John. No, I don't even know if Sidney Powell wanted to come, to be honest. I mean, I don't know, or whether she was in the crowd. Look, I saw almost everybody that was a Trump supporter was somewhere in the crowd. Now, people are making a big thing about, these tech oligarchs being there. No, they're kissing Trump's ring. And Trump is cracking the whip. Trump is the one that told them, the days of censorship are over. Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, according to Zuckerberg, is now going to be a free speech zone again. Jeff Bezos has now come out and said, we're going to make peace with Trump. We're not going to impose censorship. Google, the head of Google, was there saying we're not going to shadow ban people. We're not going to censor. We're not going to target or go after or marginalize conservatives on Google. So they're all there basically saying the days of censorship, the days of cancel culture are over. Now, whether they're going to implement it or not, we have to, hold their feet to the fire. But Trump broke his enemies. Now, I got to say this about Jeff Bezos' fiancée. Okay, I don't know if you saw all this. It broke on social media. I didn't pay attention. I didn't see it. But apparently she had a white lace lingerie bra that she wore to the inauguration. And there were close-up pictures. And everybody said it was cheap, it was classless, it was vulgar, it was tacky. And I agree. Just because you have money doesn't mean you have class. America is back, my friends. 6:51 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Okay, I feel like it's, I don't know, one of my children's getting married. I'm not kidding. Like if you saw The Godfather, I feel like a Sicilian. On this day, I can't refuse you any request. I swear, I was so giddy yesterday, all day. I'm just pumping my fists. If you were in the Stop and Shop grocery store in Foxborough yesterday, and you see a big, tall, balding, chubby guy who just kept going after aisle by aisle, just pumping his fists, slowly pumping his fists. I mean, literally doing, pirouettes. That was me. That was me. I'm serious. I was on cloud nine all day yesterday. So no, that wasn't a madman. That wasn't some insane person. That was me celebrating. I couldn't stop celebrating yesterday. 617-266-6868. Dave, our Western PA correspondent, thanks for holding and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Dave.
Jeff, I want to tell you something. And this, to me, was the highlight of the day. It was Trump-Mania running wild, the top elbow from the top rope, the Bruno Sammartino power slam. But I loved it when Trump said it directly right to Biden's face in the inaugural address. You've seen him. He looked stone cold. And Kamala just sat there, didn't know what she wanted to do. And the only time they got up was to praise the fact that they think they had something to do with the hostage release, Jeff. And I'm going to tell you something, Jeff. Joe Biden, I've never recognized him as my president. He's the leader of the Politburo, the dumbass Politburo, Jeff. So, but I'm going to tell you, Jeff, America's back. I'm proud to be an American again. Jeff, this is incredible. And I'm going to tell you, next to John F. Kennedy's inaugural address, I think Trump hit the ball out of the park. It was a grand slam home run, buddy.
Oh, I agree. It's funny you should mention that. Many are making comparisons to Kennedy's, very famous 1961 inaugural address. It was incredible. He really put it all together. And Dave, I think what made it even grander, now he didn't realize it at the time, but many people like myself did. I couldn't believe it. That, 15 minutes before he's about to leave the White House. So they timed it that it would be released to the public as Biden is there at the inauguration. And Trump is about to go up and swear on the Bible along with J.D. Vance. And like a political gangster. And that's what he is. He's a political gangster. That's when they made the announcement he's pardoning his entire crime family. Blanket, sweeping, unconditional, preemptive pardons, Dave. And to show you how disgusting it is, he backdates the pardon to January 1st, 2014. Why January 1st, 2014, Dave? Because from that moment forward is when Frank Biden, or Francis, as he's known in the pardon, goes by Frankie. So Biden's brother, Frankie, Biden's brother, Jimmy, Biden's sister, Valerie, and their spouses mysteriously started to all get huge chunks, millions of dollars of money from foreign sources into their shadow accounts. Suddenly they start to get money just out of nowhere. And everybody knows it was bribery. It was money laundering. It was influence peddling. It was paid to play. It was naked corruption and treason. And he used his brothers and his sister and his family as essentially the bagmen. So he pardons his son, Hunter, and then he ends up pardoning the entire crime family. So you juxtapose this gangster on stage to Donald Trump, who literally, if you want to know, to me is the heir to Theodore Roosevelt. I'm going to get to this later in the show, Dave. He clearly says, and he references McKinley and Roosevelt as sort of his models. And they were both very big American nationalists. And so he's basically saying, I'm here to put America and Americans first. I want to do great things for this country, for and standing next to him is this corrupt, petty, disgusting, shameless little crook. This crook who pardons his own, which is an admission of guilt. This self-serving, corrupt, as you put it, Politburo apparatchik who lined his pockets at our expense and then pardons everybody in his family on his way out the door. The contrast between Trump and Biden, to me, could not be clearer. Dave, agree, disagree?
It's like night and day. And Jeff, one more thing I wanted to mention too, and this is going to throw a little salt into the wound of the far left. Yesterday was Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's Jr. Day, Jeff, and I'm going to say this, and it's going to hurt, but you know what? That preacher that gave the benediction, the closing prayer was great, and it's great to remember Dr. King. But Dr. King was a conservative Republican. If people don't want to hear that, the media don't want to hear that, they want to take a dump in their little diaper and go wipe themselves, it's the truth, Jeff. And you know what, Jeff? Trumpomania is running wild, Daddy.
Dave, that Capital One arena, I've never, this is to me, he truly is a disruptor and a force of nature. To have 25,000 cheering supporters watch him sign 100 executive orders, that was incredible. That was just Dave. That's the stuff of legends. Dave, thank you very much for that call. Kevin in East Bridgewater, thanks for holding, Kevin, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Kevin.
It's been a while since I called, but I had to call. I think yesterday was the greatest day in American history since the surrender of at Yorktown. He has saved the republic from extinction. What a great man and great leader he is. I can compare what we're going to go through. He refers to it as the golden age. Well, I'm going to refer to Pericles, the greatest Athenian leader, who also ruled during the golden age. And we will see, but I think he's put everything in place. He's crossed all the T's. He's dotted all the I's. And only great things are going to happen. Also, I will say this, that he has done everything to make America great again, and he will continue to do that. The period I was referring to it under Athens, it lasted about 30 years, and it was all downhill after that. But anyway, that's what I wanted to say.
Well, look, Kevin, I think you really put your finger on it, that you look at what, Athens' golden age, which has reverberated throughout thousands of years of history. There's Sparta, there's other great city-states. But this is what Trump is saying, that what I'm doing is, this is almost a second American Revolution. I'm renewing our republic. And, there was one part, it was very moving. Many in the media missed it, but you can see it. If you recorded it, you can see it. After J.D. Vance is sworn in, and to me, it was very touching. J.D. had tears in his eyes. You could see what it means to him. And, everybody, look, just as a side note, I have to say this. The rabbi that gave the benediction, and it was a beautiful, powerful benediction, where he said, don't forget God. Never forget God. Washington never forgot God. Our founding fathers never forgot God. Faith and morality are fundamental to our freedom and liberties. Never forget that. That rabbi's grandparents, and I'm getting a little choked up because it reminds me of my father and my grandfather, were Holocaust survivors. And he said afterwards, he says, do you know what an incredible story America is? I am the grandson of a Holocaust survivor, and I'm giving the benediction at the inauguration of a president of the United States. In no other country in the world is this possible. And with no doubt, you look at J.D. Vance, tears in his eyes. His mother was a drug addict. His father abandoned them when he was, 2 years old, 3 years old. The man came from one of the poorest areas of Appalachia. He's lucky, as he said, I'm lucky I'm alive because drugs destroyed so many of my family members and friends. Literally rags to riches. And now I'm the vice president of the United States? I'm talking dirt, poor, poverty? Kevin, it's incredible. It really, it's the whole story, the whole American story, everything, people there at the inauguration, people in Trump's team. It's just incredible what they've achieved, what we've achieved as a country. And, Kevin, I want to ask you and I want to ask the audience this. Trump, and I'm going to play the cuts. It was very moving, very powerful. I've almost never seen someone be that confessional at an inaugural address. He was almost vulnerable, and I mean this in a good way, not in a bad way, where he says, I almost died. A millimeter and I'm dead. And you may not believe me, but I'm telling you, God spared my life that day. And he spared my life that day, and that's when I knew I was going to win this election. To save this country and to make our country great again. We're going to renew our country. And this is going to go on from me and to J.D. Vance. And when J.D. Vance took his hand off the Bible and he finished his oath, Trump and him embraced. And Trump said to him, you could see it on his lips, I need your help. That's what he said to him. I need your help. And then he looked at him like two men in the eyes. And J.D. teared up and he shook his hand very vigorously. And he said, you got it, you got it, you got it. So what Trump is doing is, it's not about him. He really is building a team. And he's laying the groundwork, not just for 4 years. He's laying the groundwork to pass the baton off to J.D. 12 years of MAGA rule. And from this foundation, we can make this country, God knows, this could, you talk about Pericles and what he did in 30 years in Athens. What Trump and JD can do in 12 years can reverberate for centuries. So what we watched yesterday was, to me, something very special, almost providential, in my view. And look, you feel it when you watched it. I don't know if you felt it. It was history in the making. It was Liberation Day. We dodged a bullet and God saved us. And that's my honest, brutally honest take. Kevin, thank you very, very much for that call. I really appreciate it. I want to get to Russ in South Carolina, but just before I do, here it is. Okay. This is the part where he really opens up. And it was very powerful, very moving. And I want to hear from you, the great audience of Kuhner Country, whether you agree with him. Is there something almost the hand of God, providential, about Trump's victory, Trump's political comeback, as I put it, a resurrection? Listen now to Trump. Roll cut 4A, Mike.
Our liberties and our nation's glorious destiny will no longer be denied, and we will immediately restore the integrity, competency, and loyalty of America's government. Over the past 8 years, I have been tested and challenged more than any president in our 250-year history, and I've learned a lot along the way.
So he's setting himself up, right? I've been tested. Okay, we all know the impeachments, the persecutions, the lawfare, the everything, okay? The assassinations. But then he gets to the heart of it. Roll cut 4B, Mike.
The journey to reclaim our republic has not been an easy one, that I can tell you. Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life. Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again.
And people just got up and gave him a standing ovation. And Melania was tearing up. Don Jr. was tearing up. You could see his family was tearing up, many of them nodding their head. And I was tearing up. I was nodding my head. And I said this from the moment it happened. I said, I believe God saved him. And again, let me be honest with you, brutally honest, like I'm in the confessional, okay? People ask me repeatedly, why were you so certain, Jeff, that Trump was going to win? You never flinched, ever, 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 ever. It didn't matter what the poll said or what happened on the campaign. You were so convinced that Trump was going to win. And I said, because honestly, I think it was a miracle. He should have died on that day. You look at the assassin. You look at the bullets. You look at the trajectory of the bullets. It was an absolute miracle that he was not killed that day. And as a man of faith, as a God-fearing man, as a man of faith, as a Christian, I said, you know what? God spared him. And I don't believe that God spared him to give him extra time with his kids or with his family. I don't want to be presumptuous and speak for God. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. I said, no, I can feel it in my gut. He has a mission. God wants him, he wants him to do a second term. God saved him to save America. I believe it. Trump believes it. And I will take this to my grave. Agree, disagree. Russ in South Carolina. Thanks for holding, Russ, and welcome.
Good morning from a chilly Myrtle Beach.
Russ, trust me, buddy, it's not as cold there as it is here.
I have the weather forecast for both Boston and my local area. It's 27 degrees down here.
It's one. Russ, it's one where we are.
Well, it says 6 on weather.
Oh, really? Okay. My car said 1 in the morning. 1 degree Fahrenheit when I was driving in at 3:30. But go ahead, Russ. Go ahead.
Congratulations to Donald John Grover Cleveland Trump. All right. Now, a few observations on the speech and the inauguration yesterday. First of all, Trump missed an opportunity in the choice of the justices who administered the oath. I don't know why Kavanaugh was there, because he hasn't been reliable. And second of all, he missed an historic opportunity to have Clarence Thomas administer the oath to the president, because he could have really pushed John Mush for Brains Roberts back in his place. And I had misgivings about the attendance of the Bidens going into this, but now I'm glad that they were there, because the whole speech was basically an in-your-face repudiation of the Bidens. And I wonder if Joe Tato was even smart enough, had the mental wherewithal to understand what was being done to him. Certainly Carmela was just stone-faced. All right, so the speech was an absolute beatdown of Biden. One thing I had a problem with, though, was in the speech. I agreed with 95% of it, so I'm in agreement with you on this, Jeff. The speech was great, except for 2 things. He used the phrase territorial expansion, and I don't think he should have, and manifest destiny. I think he was talking about Greenland in that context, but that phrase didn't belong in the speech, and especially the mention about taking back the canal, because that we're on very shaky ground there from a treaty standpoint and an international law standpoint. Granted, we don't want the Chinese controlling it, but I don't know if we can do much about that, and the speech yesterday wasn't the place to bring that up. Now, I want to mention something about the border closing, and you should get on this later in the show. Just hours after the inauguration, a Border Patrol agent was shot dead, but not at the southern border.
At the northern border. No, that's right. Russ, I'm a little worried now about the safety of our Border Patrol agents, because as we start to deport many of these criminal illegal aliens, I'm worried that many of them are going to start lashing out. Russ, thank you very much for that call. More. Don't touch that dial. 720 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. Russ in South Carolina said that he liked 95% of Trump's speech, but there were a few sentences or a part of it that he didn't like. One was the reference to territorial expansion, and the other one was to manifest destiny. And Russ went on about the Panama Canal. We're going to get to the Panama Canal, I promise, because it's an issue that's not going to go away. If you want to know my opinion in a nutshell, either they give it back to us or they kick out those Chinese companies that are dominating those two ports and they stop ripping us off. In other words, the Panamanian government was given a gift and they've abused that gift. So either you're going to return it or you're going to kick China out of the Panama Canal and stop ripping us off. Because Trump is right. The situation is intolerable. Now, but we'll discuss that later. To me, what was very obvious was when he mentioned territorial expansion and manifest destiny, he wasn't talking about a new American empire, as many in the liberal media are claiming. He's talking about Mars. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about the dream that he has and Elon Musk and many people, myself included, that say, yes, we need to win the space race. China wants to be the first country on Mars. Russia wants to be the first country on Mars because ultimately they want to colonize Mars. They want the resources, the vast wealth of Mars. Well, listen now to Donald Trump. He's saying, no, 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 no. Space is the next frontier. And we have to win this space war. Just like we won the Cold War. I want the stars and stripes, not the Chinese flag, not the Russian flag. I want the American flag to be planted on Mars. Roll cut 14A, Mike.
Pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars. Ambition is the lifeblood of a great nation, and right now our nation is more ambitious than any other. There's no nation like our nation. Americans are explorers, builders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and pioneers. The spirit of the frontier is written into our hearts. The call of the next great adventure resounds from within our souls.
I mean, this is very powerful. And by the way, he's completely right. And by the way, you don't see it, obviously, because it's an audio cut. But Elon was pumping his fist, like Elon was like, yeah, let's get to Mars, baby. Now, I want to play the next cut because, again, this is going to be the dominant theme of Trump's presidency. And it's very profound, it's brilliant, and it's ultimately very American. What he's doing is he's connecting, and you're going to listen to this, the 13 colonies breaking away from the British, creating this incredible republic here on the North American continent. And then he says, look how we tamed the western frontier. Look how we went all the way from the Atlantic to the Pacific. And then we became a great continental republic. And from there, we defeated Nazism. We defeated fascism. We defeated communism. We became the greatest superpower in the history of the world. But we have another frontier to now tame and conquer. And that's Mars. That's space. He's linking America, its founding, to the Western frontier, now to space. Listen to Trump. Roll, and he ties it right, really, to our ancestors. Going right to George Washington, John Adams, Jefferson, and our founding fathers. Roll cut 14B, Mike.
Our American ancestors turned a small group of colonies on the edge of a vast continent into a mighty republic of the most extraordinary citizens on earth. No one comes close. Americans pushed thousands of miles through a rugged land of untamed wilderness. They crossed deserts, scaled mountains, braved untold dangers, won the Wild West, ended slavery, rescued millions from tyranny, lifted billions from poverty, harnessed electricity, split the atom, launched mankind into the heavens, and put the universe of human knowledge into the palm of the human hand. If we work together, there is nothing we cannot do and no dream we cannot achieve.
This is Kennedy-esque. This is really echoes. It's echoes of Abraham Lincoln. Well, actually, it's echoes of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, and John F. Kennedy. Should we go to Mars? 7:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, a lot of reaction, not just to Trump's brilliant, powerful, to me, honestly, Kennedy-esque, really, in many ways, inaugural address, but also to Biden's pardons. And I'm not just talking about Milley and Fauci and the J6 committee, but his last minute pardon of his crime family, of his brothers Jimmy and Frankie, the bagmen, his sister Valerie, her husband, their spouses, all of them. And this is from 603. You can, by the way, you can text us 70470. Jeff, I am glad both you and Trump don't drink, as there is no time to nurse champagne hangovers. The pardons can't be ignored and must be utilized. Every one of Biden's family must be brought before a congressional committee, put under oath and grilled about every dollar of the tens of millions the crime family has accumulated. Immediately, the pardons deny them the Fifth Amendment shield. If they tell the truth, the country can at least see the crime and the corruption. If they lie, then perjury is a new crime not protected by the pardons. All of the ingredients are there to put Joe and Jill behind bars, or at least bankrupt them. Bake the cake for God and country's sake. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Look, they can't let it go. Trump can't let it go. The Republicans in Congress should not and must not let it go. And I think 603 hits the nail right on the head. The silver lining in him pardoning his criminal family is that now they can't plead the fifth and say, oh, I'm not going to testify or I'm not going to say anything. You can't, because you've been pardoned. So you can't be charged with any crime. So either you show up or you're going to be held in contempt of Congress. And you have to then speak under oath. Now, if they commit perjury, throw them in jail. If they tell the truth, nothing's going to happen to them. But then the full extent of Biden's criminality, bribery, corruption, influence peddling will be revealed for the country and the world. He pardoned his family. It's an admission of guilt. He's a crook, and his family are a bunch of crooks. And if I'm Trump, go after every single one of them. Agree, disagree. Carol in Bridgewater. Thanks for holding, Carol, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Carol.
President Trump, God bless we the people, and God bless America.
God bless you, Carol.
Yesterday.
Thank you.
I cried watching the whole day. I was so enthralled that I watched it from beginning till it went off air. My heart and soul was touched by the comeback of America here that Trump is bringing to us, and we all witnessed it. It was such a great event. Even, having to watch Biden and Kamala flinch there with the ilk of the Democrats. It really made me laugh to see how uncomfortable they were. But they deserved it, and I felt that Trump was gracious, to them, because if it was me, I would have told them exactly what I thought of them right then and there. I would have taken the advantage of what the media was there for, and the whole world would have heard the truth.
Carol, I got to say, and I'm so happy you made that point. I'm being honest. If it was me, I would have. Trump said it to their face. He did. But I thought Grace, she said this to me as we were watching. She goes, no, Jeff, he didn't have to mention their names. Just by talking about the failures of the previous years and then what he's going to do to undo it, it was so damning, so devastating, he didn't have to even say their names. Now, I'm telling you personally, I'm with you, Carol. I would have turned around. I'm sorry, I would have said, you're a crook. I want you to know that. You're a self-serving, corrupt Benedict Arnold. I just want the right, But then I'm telling you, he would have been attacked for not being presidential, for being petty, for being partisan. And I think the younger Trump, forgive me, the Trump maybe of 8 years ago, maybe would have gone and, given him a personal shot by name. This Trump, post-Butler, post-assassination, post-lawfare, the martyr Trump, the resurrected Trump, the Trump who's 78 and realizes I've got 3-4 years left to really turn this country around. I want to be known as a Roosevelt, as a Theodore Roosevelt, as an Abraham Lincoln. I want to go down in history as one of the greatest presidents who left his mark and made his country infinitely better, wealthier, freer, and stronger. And so he was much more disciplined. And I got to say, Carol, overall, look, the opposition is crumbling around him. He's crushed the media. He's crushed the big tech overlords. That's why they're all there kissing his ring. He's crushed the Democrats. It's the Trump era, and he's got 4 years. And what I saw from those executive orders, it's historic. Unprecedented number of executive orders on so many multiple fronts. He's almost starting to fix the country within 24 hours. Now the official definition across the entire government is a man is a man and a woman is a woman, only two genders. He's killed transgenderism in the federal government. He's ended censorship in the federal government. He's ended critical race theory and DEI in the federal government. Now all hiring, Carol, must be merit-based and colorblind across the entire federal government. You look at what he's done with oil drilling. Already, he's unleashing oil and natural gas drilling. He's pulled us out of the Paris Climate Accords. And to me, the one that just what he's done to the border, he has shut the border down. Listen, this is what he's done, Carol. Okay? He's now declared a national emergency. He's now completely sealed the southern border. He's reinstated Remain in Mexico. He's terminated catch and release. He's designated the Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. He now signed an executive order ending anchor babies, birthright citizenship. Now, the left has challenged it. It's going to go to court. Trump is saying, let's take it to court. But my point is, you go down the line. He's now put the military on the entire southern border with a mandate and a mission to finish building the wall within a matter of weeks. The invasion has been stopped cold. There are images now. I don't know if CNN thinks this is going to work. You've got these illegals now who are crying. They've made it to the border. They're crying because they're being told, go back. Bye. Go back. Don't let the door hit you on the way. Bye. So the Democrats said, we can't stop the invasion. Pope Francis said, you can't stop the invasion. The globalists, the media said, you can't stop the invasion. Trump has just stopped the invasion in less than 24 hours, like this, with the stroke of his pen, over multiple executive orders. And Carol, it's only 7:40 in the morning the next day. Final word to you, Carol.
It's a beautiful day in America again. I am so proud to be an American, and I love and embrace Trump's new presidency. It will be, a whole revelation to the liberals here to see what a great, great president he really will be.
Carol, we did it. Really, this was our victory. You did it. I did it. All of us together, we did it. We never gave up. We never flinched. We never surrendered. And we saved our country. Carol, thank you very much for that call. Really, yesterday, Trump nailed it. It was Liberation Day. And we all played a part in our country's liberation. Brooks, in the Freedom State, Florida. Thanks for holding, Brooks, and welcome.
Jeffrey, my friend, great to hear you and all of Kuhner Country this morning.
Thank you. Welcome, Brooks.
Yes, I was listening on since about 6 o'clock when you first got on, and, kind of the predominant theme is God's involvement in all of this, and I thought every day that Kuhner Country, that CJ and Larry from Leominster and Barbara and Mags and Arthur and all of us prayed that we would have the opportunity to envision and watch this miracle, and that's what happened. It was a miracle. But I wanted to shift gears quickly over to
Brooks. Mike, you're killing me here with these breaks, Mike. Brooks, please hang on. He says he loves it. Boy, you're really you like sticking it to the Kuhner, man. I'm Mike. Brooks, I'm up against a hard break. Please hang on. I'm going to go right back to your call. Take all of your calls. Don't touch that dial. 7:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, liberalism's worst nightmare, baby. Okay, Trump delivers an inaugural address for the ages. Did you watch his inauguration? Did you hear or watch his inaugural address? And what did you make of it? Let's go right back to Brooks in Florida. Brooks, please, we got cut off. Pick up where you left off.
Jeff, I was just saying that I felt all of us there through Kuhner Country, all of the, as we say, blood, sweat, and tears, and most importantly, the prayers. If you think back, Jeff, where we were and the demoralization of how we all felt 4 years ago, it was insurmountable. It was beyond the beyond. The level of frustration, and, personally, I wanted to bite through metal and go after these people. And it was the only thing that took me off the cliff was just hearing CJ's voice, Larry from Leominster, Mags, you, especially you brought us all together. We hit our knees, we prayed. As you said, and continue to say, it was providential. We witnessed a miracle, Jeff. I don't know what Russian czar or president said, may you live in interesting times, but holy shamoli, we were there during the most interesting time of our lives. I don't think we'll ever get it back. Enjoy every second of it because we've witnessed a miracle. It's the golden era. We're going to win.
Brooks, drop the mic. I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you very much for that call. Let me throw this quick log on the fire, and I want to continue to take your calls. 617-266-6868. Okay, as you know, Trump unleashed a slew of executive orders. Over 200 executive actions, 100 executive orders, primarily focused, he did on energy. He's unleashing energy dominance and energy drilling. He also, of course, freed the J6ers. I'm going to get to that a little bit later. He pardoned almost every single one of them, commuted some of the remaining, he commuted their sentences. About 1,500 J6ers are either home or on their way to coming home. I mean, he just did not stop. The big priority, though, was the border. I mean, he did a lot. DEI, freedom of speech, censorship, critical race theory. You could go on and on. So he's already moving on multiple fronts. But the big one, most of his executive orders focused on the border to stop the invasion and stop it cold. The media is losing its collective mind. And you thought they were crazy before. Now that he's actually in power and actually wielding power and actually now passing these or signing these executive orders, I think they're going to get a heart attack, really. So I want you to listen now. This is Timothy Naftali. He's some kind of a presidential historian on This is CNN. And already, Trump is a dictator. He's already a dictator. Roll cut 30. Mike.
Tim, Naftali, you were pointing out in history the record for executive orders on the first day is what?
9
by
Biden, and
that seemed like a lot.
Well, and Trump himself didn't have many executive orders the first time around on January 20th. So he has decided to make good on his promise to be a dictator on day one.
I mean, these people are sick. No, really, they're sick. So. What? It's illegal and unconstitutional now to sign an executive order? Like what? So when Biden does it, it's okay? When Obama does it, remember what Obama famously said? I have a pen. I have a phone. So Trump has a pen. He has a phone. Now it's not okay? So tell me, which executive order is that of a dictator? Tell me, which one? Declaring a national emergency on the U.S.-Mexican border? No, perfectly legal. What? Reinstating Remain in Mexico? Perfectly legal. Pulling us out from the Paris Climate Accords? Perfectly legal. Allowing offshore drilling and drilling on federal lands? Perfectly legal. It's all within the president's prerogative and authority. A legal constitutional authority. What's the problem? Ordering the military to go on our southern border, to secure it, and then to start building a wall? Perfectly legal. What's the problem? The only one that is quote-unquote controversial, and I put this in air quotes, and I think he's completely right, but it's already going to the courts, is his executive order banning so-called anchor babies, birthright citizenship, as it's called. But even then, Trump's executive order's already been suspended because it's already been challenged and it's going to court. So let the Supreme Court weigh in. What's the problem? What authoritarian action has he taken? How has he usurped power in any way, shape, or form? No, you just don't like his policies. And you look like a bunch of fools. Now, I said this on X, and I got tremendous reaction, and I want to repeat it right now to all of you. Please, remember this now going forward. Never forget this. What did the media, what did Hollywood, what did Joey? What did the cackler, Kamala Harris? What did the Hildebeest, Hillary Clinton? What did the Democrats? Their entire leadership say that if Trump ever wins the election and is sworn into office, he, according to them, will establish concentration camps, that he will end elections, and that he will put millions of people in prison and in jails, including, by the way, journalists and the political opposition. Now remember, that's what they said. That's what they predicted. That's what they all said over and over and over again. Now, it's complete BS. Okay? You know what I really want to say? I can't say it. It's complete bullcrap. You know it. I know it. The country knows it. It's not going to happen. And when it doesn't, don't ever let them forget it. They need to be permanently discredited for pushing this horrendous big lie. This hoax was bigger than the Russia hoax, bigger than the Biden laptop hoax, that it was a Russian disinformation. This is the biggest lie and the biggest hoax that they ever pushed on the American people. That Trump was going to end America as we know it, end elections, and put millions of people into detention and concentration camps. That's how unhinged they've become. When it doesn't happen, and it won't happen, they need to be permanently discredited, permanently swept into the dustbin of history. Because, my friends, that's no longer media. That's no longer journalism. That is rabid, disgusting propaganda. 617-266-6868. And then one last quick point. You want to talk about propaganda on steroids. Elon Musk was at the Capital One Arena. I don't know if you saw it last night. He was very emotional. You could tell very happy for Trump. He almost feels like it's a victory for him as well. And so as Trump is, they did the parade, a beautiful indoor inaugural parade. Trump is going to be signing these executive orders. Elon gives a speech. And of course, the crowd loves Elon because he played a pivotal role in Trump's victory. And so Elon, with his right hand, puts it on his heart and then tells everyone in the crowd, right, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank all of you. And then he shoots his right hand out, like kind of waving, like from the heart, from his chest, from his breast, to everybody in the crowd, like waving, like thank you. God is my witness. You know what's coming. You know what's coming. God is my witness. The idiots, and there's no other word, the idiots at CNN. That was a Nazi salute. That Hitler, Goebbels. It was Nazism. It was a Nazi salute. Are you people normal? By the way, remember what they said when Trump spoke at Madison Square Garden? They go, well, there was a Nazi rally there 85 years ago. Yeah, there was also 3 Democratic conventions. So what's your point? No. The Nazis were there, the Nazi Bund in the 1930s, 85 years ago. Do you see the connection? Now, he waves to the crowd, and all of a sudden, no, wink, wink, Hitler, it's the Nazis. It's pathetic. It's a risible. Honestly, it's a joke. This is now what passes for the résistance, as the French would say. This is what passes for the resistance. This kind of dreck and garbage. Trump has broken them. He has completely broken them. And I don't know if they listen to themselves, but I'm telling you, they sound insane. If this is going to be the quality of the media opposition, Trump is going to have an incredible 4 years. Agree, disagree. Mark in Medford. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. First off, I just want to say that yesterday was probably the only Monday in the history of the world that people were looking forward to. But Jeff, you left out one of my favorite executive orders yesterday. One of them is that any member of the military that was discharged for not taking the jab will be fully reinstated with back pay.
Beautiful. I mean, isn't it beautiful, Mark?
I want to point out a couple of negatives, and they're not Trump negatives. They're negatives on the people that were sitting directly behind him. One, Joe Biden. You talk about acting presidential. Every time Trump mentioned the incompetency that this country was run with the last 4 years, Joe Biden had the cojones to sit there and smile and laugh. If Trump saw that, I would have turned around if I were him and said, do you find something funny, Joe? I would have put him right on the spot right there. And one more thing, Jeff. Barack Obama shows up and Michelle doesn't. A former first lady doesn't come to inauguration. What was her excuse?
Well, Mark, you know the rumors. I mean, the rumors are it's Splitsville. I mean, the rumors are that they're separated and they're about to get a divorce. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but, you know, she didn't attend the funeral with Jimmy Carter, and she didn't attend the inauguration. Now, people close to her say that she just hates Trump so much because at Jimmy Carter's funeral, she'd have to be sitting right next to Trump. And she says she so can't stand him, she doesn't want to sit next to him, so she didn't show up. Or for the inauguration, she so can't stand him, she didn't want to show up. Now, if that's the case, then this woman is incredibly petty, incredibly immature. I can't tell you how many functions, Mark, I've had to go in my life where I couldn't stand the person that was there. But, you know, you do it for family reasons or professional reasons or whatever. You get some things in life. It's what they call a command performance. Some things, they don't ask you whether you like it or not. You have to do it. It's called being a grown-up. So I don't know if it's because they're divorcing or because she's that immature and adolescent. But whatever it is, I agree with you, Mark. I mean, you want to talk about lack of class and not being presidential. This is it. And Mark, just one last point, because I want to give you the final word. I noticed the exact same thing. He kept snickering. Biden kept snickering, you know, and rolling his eyes and shaking his head and with that smug, sly smile of his. I'm like, what are you, idiot? What are you laughing at? You just pardoned your crime family. You just pardoned all the gangsters in your government. Well, what are you laughing at? And I think he's lucky that he was sitting behind Trump, because you're right. I think Trump, had he seen him, would have given him a verbal smackdown. Mark, final word to you.
If I was going to say, that was one of the biggest smirks and chuckles from Joe Biden was when Trump mentioned that hostages were being released back to Israel. And I swear to God, Jeff, I think when he finally stood up with Kamala and clapped on that, and I swear to God, he said to Kamala, I did that. I could have sworn that was what came out of his mouth. It looked like he said, I did that.
He's such a
Joey,
loser.
You did nothing for 4 years. The guy behind you was the guy running the country where his wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, didn't show up.
Mark, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. 617-266-6868. No, I mean, I could go on. There's so many executive orders he signed. You can't mention all of them. Another one that I love, just so that you know, he revoked the security clearance for all 51 intelligence officials that signed that ridiculous letter that claimed that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. So all of them now, this is Brennan, Clapper, McCabe, you can run down the whole list, you know, Mike Morrell, every single one of them, these 4 ex-CIA directors, Leon Panetta, all of them now, security clearance gone. And then, just for good measure, he threw in the walrus, John Bolton. So Bolton's security clearance has been revoked. In other words, he's already taking on the deep state and saying, no more access to classified information, so you guys can then spin and lie and propagandize and manipulate. Trump is moving on every single front. Eddie in Charlestown, thanks for holding, Eddie, and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff.
Welcome, Eddie. Go ahead. Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead, Eddie.
Yes, I'd like to just talk about Fauci. I'm not even going to call him a doctor because he's no doctor. A doctor saves lives. This guy is responsible for millions of lives that are going to die because of the jab. Okay? And people forgot about that. Okay? He gets a free pass, okay? Hopefully somewhere down the line he answers to it, and everybody's got to answer for it. God Almighty, he's the one that's going to make the final judgment on everybody. And I see that I have the name for him, and it's called Feces, and that's what his name is, Dr. Feces, because that's what he is. I didn't take the jab because, first of all, red flags came up. If you take a jab and they can't back it 100%, that's a red flag. Why would you inject something in your body that's not going to guarantee a red flag, guarantee 100%? That's crazy. And then they come out with, a booster. If it's a booster, it should have worked the first time. Do you agree?
I agree, not 100, but 1,000%, Eddie. And look, what Fauci did, let's be very clear. He was responsible for the COVID-19 virus being created in that lab in Wuhan. He helped fund it and fund the research. He then lied to the American people of his involvement in funding that lab, where they were engaged in chemical and biological weapons research, what they call, quote, gain-of-function research. It's really biological weapons research. And then he lied about the origin, saying it came from a wet market. It came from a bat or a monkey, when he knew it came from the lab in Wuhan. And he again misled Trump and misled the American people. He then pushed an experimental jab that he knew was rushed to market, and that he knew they were lying about it, that it was 100% effective. That was a lie. That there were no adverse or side effects. That was a lie. And then he pushed the disastrous lockdowns, the disastrous vaccine mandates, the disastrous mask mandates, the social distancing, which it turns out he completely made up. They literally, the 6 feet, they made it up. The whole thing. Now, in the end, millions of people around the world died. He destroyed our economy. He ruined the lives of our children. Psychologically, emotionally, intellectually. They have been damaged, many of them permanently, by what he did. There are millions of businesses that are gone, not just here, around the world, that will never recover again. This man is as close to a 21st century version of Joseph Mengele. And he gets a pardon from Joe Biden? Now, as many people are rightly pointing out, Eddie, he can be pardoned by Joe Biden, but there are state crimes that he committed. There are 27 attorneys general, Republican attorneys general, who can still go after Fauci. He's not immune. And crimes against humanity, that's an international crime. That Biden's pardon means nothing. And at a bare minimum, as Rand Paul said, now that he's been pardoned, your Fifth Amendment protection is gone. I want him under oath, and I want him to be exposed. So he is now the first so-called scientist in American history who had to receive a blanket preemptive pardon for his crimes. Fauci now, by accepting this pardon, it's an admission of guilt. Everything we said about him has now been corroborated, and we've been vindicated. Fauci is a criminal, a war criminal who belongs in the dock. And I hope that the people who had to endure what he imposed on us never forget it, and that Trump and Rand Paul never give up our fight for justice. More next. 8:21 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. I could go on and on. One of the other executive orders he signed, he's pulling the United States out of the World Health Organization. We're out. I mean, winning. I mean, it hasn't even been 24 hours. I mean, it's just, he's racking up victory after victory after victory. Just very quickly, he threw down the gauntlet almost immediately. And what he was telling, not just the decrepit political class, the establishment that were sitting 10 feet away from him, Joe Biden, the cackler, the dear leader, Hildebeest, Bubba, the Clintons, the Obamas, the Bushes, all of them. What he was saying is the era of globalism, of socialism, of America last is over. The era of American nationalism, populism, patriotism, freedom is back. Listen now to Trump. Roll cut 2A, Mike.
During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first. Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end.
I mean, right there. Right to their faces. Right to these gangsters' faces. I mean, it was a beautiful, glorious thing. Just very quickly, instead of running down America, instead of teaching students to hate America, instead of constantly apologizing for America, listen now to Trump saying, I am an unabashed nationalist. I believe in American independence, in American freedom, and yes, American exceptionalism. And exceptionalism is going to come back. Roll cut 2B, Mike.
And our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free. America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before.
Oh, amen, brother. Amen. And this is the line that I think is going to resonate. There are many great lines, but this is the start of a new era of national success. And listen now to Trump. He was very determined, very serious when he delivered this, saying, I know we face big problems, a lot of trouble, a lot of challenges. We dug ourselves under the Biden years a very deep, deep hole. But I'm telling you, the best is yet to come. We will be great, if not greater again. And he said it with Biden listening 3 feet away. Roll, cut, and by the way, he's saying that our movement, the MAGA movement, is not just the future of America. It's the future of the West, and in many ways, the future of the world. Roll cut 3, Mike.
I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country. Sunlight is pouring over the entire world. And America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before. But first, we must be honest about the challenges we face. While they are plentiful, they will be annihilated by this great momentum that the world is now witnessing in the United States of America.
I'm telling you, to me, it was the greatest inaugural address I've ever heard. Reagan delivered, I thought, 2 magnificent inaugural addresses. I think Kennedy's in 1961 was also clearly one of the best, one of the most eloquent, one of the most articulate. But Trump, in terms of content in particular, I don't think I've heard a better one. He has thrown down the marker, and he is now saying we are going to reach amazing new heights together. And so my question to you, what did you make of the inauguration? Did you watch or listen to Trump's inaugural speech? And like me, do you believe we are now living in a new era of national success and a new golden age? Your calls next. 8:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. President Trump now makes a triumphant return to the White House, and he hits the ground running with an absolute blitz of executive orders. And now, according to the White House, Caroline Leavitt, his press secretary, who, by the way, is going to hold her first press briefing today. I'm looking forward to that because she's going to annihilate the hostile, destroy Trump media. Apparently, Trump's going to make a massive announcement regarding infrastructure today. So, I mean, he's not letting up. Believe me, it's pedal to the metal. 617-266-6868. Or as he likes to say, winning, winning, winning. Russ in Boston. Thanks for holding, Russ, and welcome.
Good morning, Kuhner Country. Yesterday we were remembered as a day of great joy for us who love God, family, and country. God can dwell in our land again. We have great leader again. The left-wing media has been exposed. The leaders of the Democratic Party have been exposed as the enemy within. As J.D. Vance and President Trump took the oath of office, tears of joy and kinship came from my heart to my eyes. I was glued to the TV as never before. God bless this great country and the people of goodwill. God bless us all.
Russ, you've seen a lot of inaugural addresses in your life. How would you rate them? Say, compared to Bush's, Reagan's, Kennedy's. Was it the best you ever heard? One of the best? How would you classify it?
Well, let's put it this way, Jeff, okay? The last inaugural, when A-hole became the President of the United States, I did not watch that inauguration at all because it made me sick, okay? Made me sick how stupid the American people were at that time to vote for that SOB, that no good, rotten SOB, okay? And he proved himself on what he did with all those pardons, on how no good he is. And remember, all those people that he pardoned are all guilty, all right? They're guilty of sin, okay? And he made a travesty out of the whole justice system. But as far as inaugural speeches, Jeff, I want to tell you, I have been involved in a tune-up to politics since I was 12 years old by President Kennedy, okay? And I want to tell you, his line that I will never forget the rest of my life is that ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And many of us believe in that, and I've believed in it all my life, Jeff. Believe me when I say that. And yes, yesterday what Trump said, again, I agree with it 100%. So I have to say, to me, in my lifetime, those were the two greatest inaugural speeches that I've lived through.
Interesting. Russ, and I know you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. And you served multiple tours in Vietnam to serve our country. So I want to thank you again for your service. And as always, thank you for your call. God bless you, Russ. 617-266-6868. Look, if, Kennedy's inaugural address was a stirring call to patriotism. I think that's what, that famous line, ask not what your country can do for you, but you can do for your country. That's why I keep saying there's something Kennedy-esque about Trump's inaugural. I mean, it's his own vision, of course, and his own delivery and his own issues, which were very different today than they were, 60 some years ago. But it's in that same vein of patriotism and what we can do to make our country better and to be ambitious and to be exceptional and to be great, national greatness. And that's what infused Kennedy's inaugural address. And to me, that's what infused yesterday's address. It was one of the best inaugural addresses. I keep saying it over and over again. It was so powerful and so well delivered. And it had such weight of conviction behind it. That's the other thing. You can tell every word he believes, every single word. And now he's backing it up with action. I mean, he's setting a blistering pace. Victor in the great state of Maryland. Thanks for holding, Victor, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff.
Victor, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I've been in and out of the hospital for months. Back surgery. I got an infection, and now they got to treat it with antibiotics.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Victor. So sorry to hear that. Are you feeling better now?
Back really hurts from the surgery and the infection that I got. I don't know how I got it, but I did. Anyhow, I'm going to keep this very short. I have a question for you. We know how triumphant Trump became yesterday with all the executive orders. What is going on in Canada? I know you guys up there have your own Donald Trump. I heard a clip of some guy. He's eating an apple, and he's being asked questions, and he says, "Who told you that? What did he say?"
Victor, that's the Conservative Party leader. His name is Pierre Poilievre. Obviously, he's got a French last name. He is considered by many to be Canada's Trump, and a lot of his policies inspired by Trump. And if there's going to be an election in Canada, there has to be one by, I think, November. Okay, don't quote me on that, but it's near the end of the year. Justin Trudeau, basically the Joe Biden of Canada, okay, far left progressive globalist, who just like Biden ran our country into the ground, Trudeau ran Canada into the ground. Trudeau now essentially was forced by his own party to resign. So his party, the Liberal Party, is having an election, a leadership race. And they're going to pick someone, and it's going to be some lefty, some globalist lefty, and they're going to try to put that person up against Poilievre. All the opinion polls show that Poilievre is leading either by 20, 25, or 30 percentage points. So, barring some kind of unforeseen disaster on his part, he is going to have a huge victory in Canada with a decisive mandate like Trump just received from us. And Poilievre and Trump know each other, like each other, respect each other. And basically what you're seeing now is the Conservatives in Canada are having a Canadian version of MAGA. And this is what Trump was trying to say yesterday. He goes, don't think that this is just us that's involved in this, what do you want to call it, nationalist populism, this America First movement. This movement transcends borders. There's Canada first, Britain first, France first, Germany first, Italy first. In other words, this is spreading all over the world because patriotism is back and globalism is dying. The era of the globalists is coming to an end. And the era of national success, not just for Trump and America. Really, I'm telling you, if Canada elects Poilievre, Canada is going to boom again. If Britain elects Nigel Farage, Britain will be back again. If France elects Marine Le Pen, who really is France's Trump, France will be great. I'm telling you, France will be back. She will restore France. Elon Musk, to his credit, the alternative for Germany, it's called the AfD, Deutschland is the German term for Germany. So the AfD, the alternative for Germany, is being backed by Elon. And they're starting to surge in the polls. These are German patriots who want to take Germany back. So, by the way, Poland, Eastern Europe, Hungary, I could name you country after country, all across Central Eastern Europe, They love Trump, and they have very similar nationalist populist movements in those countries. So this is what Trump was trying to say yesterday. What we're doing is not just going to sweep America, it's going to sweep the world. Because we stand on the rock of truth. And what is this rock of truth? Faith, family, freedom. Faith, family, freedom. God, country, family. Those are the eternal values that made not just America great, but made the entire Western world great. And this experiment in communism, which is what globalism and progressivism really ultimately is, this experiment, if you want to be technical about it, in wokeism and neo-Marxism has failed. Has failed. And as Trump said yesterday, those days are now over. We are writing a new chapter and a new history for America. And we're going to return to the greatness of our ancestors. From George Washington to Lincoln to Theodore Roosevelt to John Kennedy to Ronald Reagan. America is back. Victor, thank you very much for that call. And to me, he's got a mandate, and mark my words, his mandate now is only going to grow and grow and grow. And after those vile, despicable, corrupt pardons of yesterday, Trump now has an even bigger mandate to clean out the swamp and drain the swamp. Because the American people saw what Joe Biden did, and they're rightly revolted and disgusted. And think about it. Okay, just stand back. Look at the hypocrisy of the political establishment. Hitler, fascist, a dictator, a racist, a white supremacist. They called him every name in the book. Yet they all showed up to his inauguration. Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, George Bush. You can run down the line. There was, a Biden, a Kamala, Mike Pence. They all showed up. What a bunch of phonies, frauds, and liars. If this was truly Hitler, if you truly believed in what you were saying, who the hell would show up to the inauguration of Hitler? So it just shows you they don't even believe what they say. 617-266-6868. Okay, couple lines are open if you want to jump on. Did you watch Trump's inaugural address? His inauguration? Like? No like? Your call's next. 8:50 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. All right, my friends, it's morning again in America. That's certainly how I feel. That's how many Trump supporters feel. I want to ask you, is this how you feel? Especially after Trump now officially sworn in. He is the 47th president of the United States. Did you watch or listen to his inaugural address? And his absolute blitz of over 100 executive orders, 200 executive actions. He is hitting the ground running. Do you feel America is already healing itself and he's barely in office? 617-266-6868. Amanda in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Amanda, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I am so elated this morning. It feels like it did right after election night. It's awesome. It's so awesome. I do have to say though, I was really nervous. I was holding my breath until he was sworn in because there was a part of me that just didn't think it was going to happen. It was just like election night. I mean, you knew he was going to win going to bed, but it's almost like a trauma from 4 years ago or even from the past 4 years. It's just been horrible. And I hope as I love all of executive orders. They're fantastic. But I really hope he goes after all those people and all the corruption, especially surrounding COVID. So we can never, ever, ever forget what happened and never let this happen again. And I tell that to my children all the time. Never forget this moment. Never forget what happened. The education system in this country needs a complete overhaul. And it wouldn't have happened if COVID didn't happen and the lockdowns didn't happen and our freedoms that are guaranteed to us in the Constitution weren't taken away. We wouldn't have been in the situation that we were in. And our kids, I mean, we have an entire generation of children that can't read, that can't write, that don't know civics. It's insane. I mean, the Supreme Court justices were walking out yesterday, and I'm, kind of explaining I have a 10-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son, and I'm explaining kind of what was going on. And they're like, oh, who are those people? I'm like, oh, that's the Supreme Court justices. Well, what's the Supreme Court? How do you not know what the Supreme Court is? You're in 4th grade. Like, what? We have so much work to do, but we have to investigate everything that happened and hold these people accountable. Even though they have a pardon, who cares? Shine a light on it and make the deep state know that we are coming after you. We, the people that pay your salary, yeah, we're done with it. We cannot forget what happened.
Amanda, Trump was asked yesterday. He's now in the Oval Office. He's, still signing executive orders. And he's asked point blank at one point, what do you make of Joe Biden's decision to pardon Fauci and Milley and the entire January 6th committee? And then on top of all of that, now we just found out, like on his way out the door, he pardons Jimmy and Frankie, his brothers, his sister, all of whom, by the way, I got to stress this, Amanda. The reason why he made the pardons effective going all the way back to January 1st, 2014. You said, why is he going back, over 10 years? It's because it was after then that they started to get massive amounts of money. This is what House investigators found. Millions of dollars from foreign sources. China, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Romania, right into their shadow bank accounts. These shadow accounts were created for Frankie, for Jimmy, and then millions would flow in. And so he gave them all a blanket, unconditional, preemptive pardon. And so Trump is asked, what do you make of this? I want to play his response and get your reaction. This is what Trump said. Roll cut 23A, Mike.
I didn't know that he gave a pardon to his family because he did it during my speech.
He didn't tell you in the limo?
No, he didn't tell me. No. He did it. They released it during my speech. During my speech. So all I could do was say, excuse me, I'd like to come back and speak some more. So, no, we were surprised by that. It's bad precedent, obviously.
He's shaking. And what you can't see, Amanda, is he's shaking his head like he's thoroughly disgusted. He's just disgusted. And, Amanda, this is from the very same people who impeached him twice over nothing, who weaponized the Justice Department and the entire legal system to try to put him behind bars, to bankrupt his entire business, that were behind not one but 2 assassination attempts. So they tried to imprison him. They tried to bankrupt him. They tried to murder him. The same FBI, those very same agents, I'm not kidding, really, who had shoot to kill orders, who raided his Mar-a-Lago home, went through Melania Trump's underwear drawer to humiliate her and to humiliate him. And he's the bad guy? And then he's sitting there and he's saying, like some political gangster. There's no finesse. He's so shameless, utterly shameless. There's no finesse to this. He's not even trying to hide it a little bit. He pardons his thug brothers, his thug sister, their spouses, Everybody who had their hands on these shadow accounts. Amanda, what say you?
Oh, I think it's totally disgusting. It's awful and it's wrong. And like I said before, we can't forget it. You know, it's not so much about Trump and everything that they tried to do to him. And he said it all along. If they can do this to me, they can do this to you. But they have done it to us. And that's something that we always need to remember. They did imprison us. Look at January 6th. And it goes beyond January 6th. There are so many conservatives that are rotting in jail right now for crimes that, I mean, maybe, a year or two, but they've gotten way longer sentences purely because they're conservatives and they're Trump supporters. You know, they did murder us. They murdered us with vaccinations that are unsafe. The suicide rate in teenagers who weren't able to go to school. That was their livelihood. You know, that was all some of these kids had to live for, and they took that away. You know, they did bankrupt us during COVID when they shut the entire world down, and these people that have poured everything into the businesses had to, just go. They couldn't recover from that. We can never forget, and we can never let this happen again. And these next 4 years, I have no doubt, are going to be so fantastic. But we can't forget what happened. I mean, when you really think about one of his executive orders that he signed yesterday was saying that there are only two genders. Think about that. Think about the bizarro world that we've just come through. 10 years ago, would you ever imagine that a president would have to sign an executive order saying there's nothing but a boy and a girl? Duh. You know, it's insane what we, the people, have allowed this country to go through. And it is on us. And it is on us to make sure that it never, never, never happens again. Never.
Amanda, drop the mic. Amen. Thank you very much for that. I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you very much for that call. Paul in the great state of Florida. Thanks for holding, Paul, and welcome.
Thank you, Kuhner. Thank you for all you do. And that woman is right, man. They murdered Kennedy. It goes all the way back to the 70s, and we can't forget. Jimmy Carter had us put sweaters on. I was 10. Russ was fighting Vietnam. I was 10. And there was no need for it. How many times did Trump say we have liquid gold? We're sitting on liquid gold. I don't think he brought up Greenland for that fact. We don't need Greenland. We have Alaska. It's just
Paul, just to quickly go, I'm going to promise I'll let you finish. That another executive order that he signed. This is what I mean. No, really, I said this to Sandy before the show. He's done so much in the last 12 hours. Paul, I'm telling you, to do justice to everything that he's done, I need a week of shows. He's given me show material for the whole week. Like, seriously, and he just keeps going. It's just, now it's going to be a big infrastructure announcement today. It's just, he's relentless. He's almost like, I'm going to put the country on my shoulders and we're going to fix everything in 6 months. Forget 4 years. But Paul, just to go to what you were saying about Kennedy, I never thought I would live to see the day, but he's going to do it. Executive order. Now every single file on the assassination of John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr. are now going to be released to the public. The deep state has to make it public. So we're going to finally know the truth about who killed all three men and who was behind it. And in particular, mentioning JFK, who ultimately was responsible for the murder and assassination of JFK. And my money says the CIA. My money, if I had to bet the whole store, I would bet it on the CIA. Because that's why they've been kicking and screaming and fighting tooth and nail for decades to prevent all of the files and all of the evidence coming out. Well, now Trump is saying enough. I want full transparency. The deep state will no longer hide in the shadows. Paul, please continue.
It was communism that killed Kennedy, right? They wanted to take our gas stoves, for crying out loud. I remember asking my old man, and my condolences. I was brought up by a good man. He was a Democrat. Dad, please, can you turn the heat up to at least 62? And I'm sick of wearing these sweaters. You know what I wish Trump said yesterday? You know what? I have a debt we're going to forgive. The 32 trillion or whatever it is, 36 trillion, it's all on China anyway. He should say, China did that to us, and you know what? We're not paying it. That solves the problem. You know what I mean? That solves the problem, So,
well, Paul, yeah, I love it. Look, China has to pay for what they did on COVID. They got to pay for a lot of things. But you're right. What they did to us and to the world on COVID, unforgivable. Unforgivable. Paul, thank you very, very much for that call. Barbara in Maryland. Thanks for holding, Barbara. And as always, welcome.
Taking my call, Jeff. What a great show. You do have great callers.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk about the speech, and you've been everything. I agree with you 150% with everything you're saying, but I'd like to say this. You mentioned earlier in the show about Michelle Obama and class. Michelle Obama showed the world yesterday money can't buy it. You're either born with it or someone cultivates you with class. She has none. Money can't buy it. However, that was the best speech I've ever heard because it's the best speech for this time. I don't think we've ever, I'm a grandmother, I don't think I've ever seen our country in such a crisis where one election could determine our future. And it's without Donald Trump, and I was in Butler. In fact, I'm standing behind him with my pink phone in my hand. I'm in a couple of the tapes behind him in Butler. And it's that's a whole nother story about how I ended up going to Butler, of all places, from Baltimore. But God's hand is on Donald Trump, and he's going to get this done. He's going to work every day like it's his last. That speech was so phenomenal. As far as Panama, that had to be said. We lost 38,000 people down there to mosquitoes and malaria, building the Panama Canal. There's no way that the Chinese can come in there and do anything. This is not their hemisphere, and we can't allow them to come here and perpetrate it. They can't, well, maybe not perpetrate, but, take over, because that's what they want to do. And Xi Jinping, he's running low on cash anyway. Their economy is not that good. Donald Trump knows exactly what he's doing. He's going to start putting the tariffs on them. They'll put a little more pressure on them. And Greenland is strategic. We already have military there anyway. But everything that he talked about, especially the when he was talking to the Democrats, and especially to Biden and his administration, the level of deceit and lies, corruption, the things that they've done to ruin this country is it's almost unbelievable. When you think about it, it's like a movie. Bringing in all these illegals, all the things that they've done to disrupt, stop the oil mandate here, and then in the meantime, all of them getting rich. All of them getting rich, phenomenally rich. All this money going here, going there, and so much of it coming back. Joe Biden was the key to a lot of people, and I do believe Barack Obama as well is going to end up in this net of information if they get it all. If he was smart, he destroyed a lot of stuff. But the people who watched that, I watched it all day. I was glued to it. And they heard the truth for the first time. They're people, just regular people who've been listening to CNN and MSNBC. They heard the truth for the first time. And it's also going to be in history. That was a historic speech. For sure.
Oh, Barbara, I got to tell you, I'm nodding my head in agreement with everything that you're saying. It's just incredible how you and I are so simpatico. I agree with you completely about Greenland. I agree with you completely about the Panama Canal. I love the way you phrase it. This is our hemisphere trying to get out. I completely agree with you that he's going to make us completely energy independent, that Biden was lining his pockets and a lot of people around him were lining their pockets, and that all this money was going to the elites and nothing for the people, and that Trump is going to turn all that on its head, and that he really is going to restore this country to our destiny and to what God wants us to be, which is a constitutional republic. Barbara, you mentioned earlier on in your call that, Michelle Obama, no class, you're either born with it, which I agree, or you're cultivated. I agree. I just want to get your take on this. I know it's a bit of a side issue, almost irrelevant in terms of the big issues that we're talking about, but it's getting so much play on social media, especially by MAGA, that they felt it was very disrespectful to Trump and to his family and to the inauguration. Jeff Bezos, nothing wrong that he showed up. Trump invited him. Bezos and Zuckerberg, all of them, they all showed up. Elon Musk, obviously, all of these big tech overlords, because now Trump has told them we got to have freedom of speech. The days of censorship are over. In fact, one of his executive orders bans censorship and cancel culture across the entire government. But Jeff Bezos' fiancée showed up, skimpy outfit, and not just a skimpy outfit, but if you look at the pictures, I mean, really, a white laced bra, obviously a lingerie that you would see is more appropriate for, I don't know, a pornographic film than for an inauguration. It was vulgar. It was tasteless. It had no class whatsoever. And many people are saying was completely disrespectful to Trump and to the voters and to the inauguration. What say you, Barbara?
Well, about that outfit, I have to go back and look at that. But I tell you one thing, she was an absolute disgrace to herself. And it'll probably be the last date unless he's married to her. Don't think he's going to be seeing too much of her.
Oh, so you think
publicly? Publicly, yeah. She came out there like a floozy. She's out there trying to catch. Just saying.
Barbara, as always, thank you very, very much for that call. Jake in Gloucester, thanks for holding, Jake, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff.
Jake.
Hello. Hi, Jeff.
My friend, go ahead. The floor is yours.
All right, Jeff. Happy New Year. I haven't talked to you since Christmas, so Happy New Year to you and your family. All the best.
Thank you. All the best to you and your family, Jake. Better yet, Happy Liberation Day, my friend. That's what yesterday was. Liberation Day.
It's liberation for the criminals who ruled this country for the past 4 years also, Jeff. Don't forget that. I'm not going to throw a damper on this great moment, this great time that we all were afraid it would never happen. And if it didn't happen, Jeff, we'd be in much more turmoil right now if Trump did not win. However, what really bothers me, and it really, really gets me so angry, that a guy like Biden over 50 years has been a crook, a plagiarist, a liar, a rapist. It just bothers me so much. You cannot, you and I talked about, you cannot let these criminals get away with the 2020 election. We know it was stolen outright by 30 or 40 million votes were fabricated for Biden. We can't, and Trump said for the past 4 years, we can't let these people get away with it, but they have. They've gotten away with all of their crimes. Adam Schiff, Cheney, and the whole Biden family, and Milley, and all those people right now are laughing all the way to the bank. Biden has never been held accountable for 50 years of graft, 50 years of being a criminal, 50 years of just living off the taxpayer. Not only that, making millions and millions and millions.
No, I agree. And Jake, I think to me, the final dishonorable, disgusting, corrupt act was to give this ridiculous preemptive pardon to his entire criminal family, which was to me a damning admission of guilt. He's a crook and his family are crooks. 921 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner. Honestly, one of the best days of my life. We're back, baby. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just very, very quick. Sandy and I were just actually talking about this off air. Look, there's no question about it. Biden and his supporters can try to spin this all they want. His pardoning of Fauci, of Milley, of Liz Cheney, of Adam Piece of Schiff, of Benny Thompson, of Raskin, of all of them on the J6 committee, and especially of his criminal family, his crime family. Frankie, Jimmy, Valerie, his brothers and sister, and their spouses. It's clearly an admission of guilt. He can say it's not. Of course it is. And it was brazen. Grace said this to me yesterday. She said, it's how brazen he is. Frankly, how stupid he is. He's making it so obvious he's a criminal. His family are a bunch of grifters and criminals and, frankly, traitors. I mean, how much more obvious do you want to make it? And they even backdate the pardon, as I said, all the way to January 1st, 2014. Why? Because that's when all these millions of dollars from China, from Ukraine, from Romania, from Kazakhstan began to pour in. What the hell does Frankie Biden have to do with millions of dollars coming in from Ukraine? Or Jimmy getting money from Romanian oligarchs? And they set up in these shadow shifting accounts. It's obvious. They were laundering money, bribery, corruption, influence peddling, pay to play. And Biden pardoned his whole family to protect himself. It was a naked, brazen act of self-serving corruption. Now, what is incredible to me, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. Okay, we could probably talk about it in greater detail tomorrow or after tomorrow. But Santa Claus really did come. My prayers were answered. Not just that Trump was inaugurated, obviously. But the media is going on about these J6 pardons that Trump issued yesterday. And as you know, for me, the J6ers and the cause of the J6ers has been very dear to my heart. And I said this repeatedly, and I'll say it again. I just want him to pardon the J6ers. Don't give me anything. I don't want anything, pay me back, or, what would you like in return for everything you've done for Trump and the MAGA movement? Just please, I want these poor J6ers to return home to their families. Well, listen now to this. Yesterday, on top of all of the executive orders, he made good on his promise. Practically every single J6er rotting in the gulag has been pardoned. I think about 14 of them have had their sentences commuted, but the 99.9% have been pardoned. They're coming home. Many of them already on their way home to be with their families. Roll cut 22, Mike.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages. Approximately 1,500 for a pardon.
Yes.
Full pardon.
Full pardon or commutation?
Full pardon. We have about 6 commutations in there where we're doing further research. Nice to see you again. So this is a big one. Anything you want to explain about this? We hope they get them. We hope they come out tonight, frankly. They're expecting it. Approximately 1,500 people. Six commutations.
Were there any cases you did not commute or pardon of people?
We're looking at different things, but the commutations would be the ones that we'll take a look, and maybe it'll stay that way, or it'll go to get a full pardon.
Now, yes, I can't tell you, I had tears in my eyes. Some of them were released last night. Some of them last night came home. Others are being released literally as I speak to you. Now, he said 6. The media said he thought it was 6, but it's more like 14. Whatever the number is, they have been pardoned. A handful have had their sentences commuted, and they may even get a full pardon as well. Thank you, President Trump.
President, let me feel confident that those are not going to be blocked by the courts.
I don't think they will. I don't think they can be. They're very straight up. Why don't you take that and go over here? Can you get him over here, not on the side angle? Do you mind? Just go right over here with your friends. Okay?
9:32 on the great WRKO. So there's this lefty journalist, and it's like, yeah, no, you think it's going to these pardons for the J6ers? You think it's going to be blocked by the courts? Like, why would they? Notice, she didn't ask, what about, Biden's pardons for Fauci or Liz Cheney or, Adam Schiff or Milley or his brothers or his sister, Frankie, Jimmy, Valerie, their spouses. Notice, the media doesn't say, you think those pardons will be blocked by the courts? No. Hey, the pardon power for Joey, that's absolute. But when it comes to Trump, and he's right, they are hostages. To me, they were political prisoners, but fine, hostages, I agree, same thing. And they were rotting in that gulag in D.C. A grave injustice was done to them. And Trump now has undone that injustice. And many of them, as I said before, as I'm talking now on the air, are finally coming home. Now, I'd like to see them get financial compensation. I'd like to get an acknowledgement of the injustice and the misconduct and the abuse of power that they endured and that they suffered. But at a bare minimum, at least they're no longer rotting behind bars. 617-266-6868. Ellie in Worcester. Thanks for holding, Ellie, and welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Very good.
Happy dance, happy dance.
Happy days are here again, Ellie.
I did my happy dance all day yesterday. Into the wee hours of the morning this morning. Yeah, the biggest moment for me was when he signed the executive order to pull out of the WEF, UN, WHO, Paris climate change, doomsday agenda, which was the chosen catapult to force the whole world into this tyrannical new world order, including the 15-minute cities, That's all included. So I'm so glad he saw that, because the climate change agenda is the new world order. And he saw that, and he just went right for it, and I was like, yeah. And as far as the J6, I was so happy with that too. That just, I did more happy dance. Yeah, happy dance. And then, but it's kind of a bittersweet moment for the families of the 5 J6 suicides, that, the ones that had lost all hope. Where, I feel really bad for those families, because now they're free, but they still don't have those 5 suicides that happened, which is a tragedy, total tragedy, because they lost all hope. And as far as Amanda, ditto Amanda, because everything she said was all right. And I think all those opposition do not eat meat dignitaries went to the inauguration just for that awesome free steak dinner and crab cakes. They just went for the food.
No, but Ellie, you're complete. That's very funny. Ellie, I want to go back to something you said a little bit earlier in your call, and I think you really put your finger on the pulse of it. What he did with these executive orders, yes, he's restoring our border. Yes, he's unleashing energy and energy drilling and energy dominance. Yeah, but at the heart of it, he's making America a free, independent, sovereign country again. He's pulling us out of the New World Order, pulling us out of the Paris Climate Accords, pulling us out of the World Health Organization. And what he's saying to the globalists is, America is not yours. I've returned it now to the people. And I think this is why the media is stunned. If you want to know the media reaction, they can't believe they thought they'd have more time to build opposition. They never in their wildest imagination thought that Trump would unleash this all-out blitz on day one within hours. But you can tell for months he's been readying these executive orders. They've had the lawyers go through them. They were waiting for him. And it's like an all-out military invasion. He's hitting the globalists on every single front. And Ellie, I want to play a cut because this is how he concludes his speech. And it all comes full circle. He starts with, I'm going to secure our borders and we're going to reclaim our national sovereignty. A nationalist, a patriot, a populist, America first. And listen to how he ends. It's very powerful, but he's really now told the globalist elites, your days are over. Your control over America is over. My election doesn't just mean the end of the Biden regime. It now means the end of the New World Order. Roll cut 16B, Mike.
America will be respected again and admired again, including by people of religion, faith, and goodwill. We will be prosperous. We will be proud. We will be strong, and we will win like never before. We will not be conquered. We will not be intimidated. We will not be broken. And we will not fail. From this day on, the United States of America will be a free, sovereign, and independent nation. We will stand bravely. We will live proudly. We will dream boldly. And nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours. And our golden age has just begun. Thank you. God bless America. Thank you all. Thank you.
I mean, Ellie, I don't think there's a more powerful passage in American history. This speech was not just to the American people. It wasn't just to our enemies. It wasn't just to the world. It was for the history books. Final word to you, Ellie.
Well, we've been given a second chance by the Creator to get this right. So like Amanda said, never forget and stay awake because these people are not going to quit. They're not going to quit. This is their religion. They're not going to quit. So we have to stay awake and never forget what they did to all these people over the years. Absolute. Do not forget.
Ellie, I could not agree with you more. And I'm telling you, remember I vowed 4 years ago, I said to all of you, I am going to fight the Biden regime with every fiber in my being, with all of my heart and soul. I'm pledging myself to you again, Kuhner Country, all of you. I am not going to rest for the next 4 years until every single Trump promise is fulfilled. We have to complete this political revolution and reclaim our independence again. Trump, I believe, is determined. He's got the team. He's got the mandate. I believe he has God and providence on his side. And I'm going to do everything in my power to see him achieve this beautiful goal. This is our second chance. I believe it's our second American Revolution. And like the first one, let's finish it and let's win it. Thank you for that call, Ellie. Brenda in Beverly. Thanks for holding, Brenda, and welcome.
Jeff, I have a few things that I'd like to share with you and the audience. First, I want to express my heartfelt condolences to you and to your family during this difficult time on the passing of your father, Jack Kuhner.
Thank you very much, Brenda.
On a lighter note, I'm going to sing a song because I like to do that on the Kuhner Report. And I was going to do it yesterday, but I got bumped off by Ginger Betty, which was fabulous because we all love Ginger Betty. And it's just a cute little song, and you're going to appreciate it. And it actually works still today. In fact, I think it even works more today because today will be the first full day of the Trump presidency. It's this, Jeff. It's an old song. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got this wonderful feeling. Everything's gonna go our way. Thank you, Lord. This is a window of opportunity. We've got 4 years, hopefully more, to transform. Oh, there's a key word, to transform people's hearts and minds. We're still welcoming those on the other side. Come on in. We have a big tent. I know that they have made us out to be monsters and evil people, and we're bad, and we're wrong, and we're ultra mega, and we're right-wing conservative nut jobs. No, we're not. We're God. We're family. We're country. And I would like to say that yesterday was just so delicious. It was like I was at a buffet table, and every moment the dishes kept getting better. When he said in the inauguration address that the decline is over, I kept getting goosebumps. I'm like, oh, he's humbled. He has an aura, Jeff. He has been changed since the assassination attempts, plural. He's coming at this from a whole different...
Oh, I agree. He's looking at it now almost in spiritual terms, in transcendental terms. And that's why my prediction, he's going to have an immensely successful presidency. Is it me, or did today's show just blow by? Rarely have I enjoyed a show as much as today, to be honest. 9:50 now on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Okay, very quickly. This was Eric on Messenger. He messaged the Kuhner man. Jeff, innocent people don't need a pardon. Only the guilty do. Bingo. Bingo, Eric. And then about the J6ers. How they should not just be pardoned, but I want them to get financial compensation for all the years that they spent rotting in a jail or a gulag. Eric says, Jeff, sorry, but it's the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, that should pay the hostages / political prisoners for the great injustice. Yes, sir. Completely right, Eric. This should come out of the DNC's pockets. Andy in Milford. Thanks for holding, Andy, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure, Andy.
Hey, I watched the inaugural address yesterday, and it was good on all the fronts. The reality hit me after the fact when I was turning in at the evening. I was surfing on Gateway Pundit, and that article came up, Trump to pardon 1,500 J6ers. That's when the reality hit me. It's over. We're back. One quick comment on the legacy media, and that is, it's not talked about very much, but the public broadcast licenses they have at the Federal Communications Commission, for decades, there's been a compact with those public broadcast licenses that they can use the public airwaves as long as they, within reason, act within the public interest. And just per your reporting on how they're acting today, it's crystal clear. They have actively worked against the public interest of this country for decades. And they're showing by their actions they're not going to change. So President Trump needs to get control of the FCC and challenge those public broadcast licenses. Judgment Day needs to come at the FCC for the legacy media.
Well, Andy, look, in theory, you're completely right. You're absolutely right. This is not journalism. This is not media. This is incitement. That what they're doing is they're inflaming people. And they're deliberately inflaming people. When they keep comparing Trump to Hitler, that's pure propaganda. That's just being incendiary. When they keep saying he's going to set up concentration camps and put millions of people in prison or arrest journalists or end elections, they're lying, and they know they're lying, and they're doing it to inflame and incite. So, in theory, you're right. They should lose their licenses. In reality, Andy, here's what's happening. They're almost imploding on their own. I don't know if you've seen the latest numbers. Andy, I think MSNBC may have more employees than viewers. CNN, they can't beat the Food Channel. Like, seriously, they can't beat the Food Channel in terms of ratings. Their ratings are in the toilet. So, I mean, in a sense, yeah, they're lying. Yes, they're abusing their public trust. You're completely right. But nobody watches them. Nobody trusts them. Nobody believes them. Nobody cares for them anymore. So in a sense, they're committing suicide. So if your enemies are committing suicide, just let them die. That's what's starting to happen. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, Andy. Look, it's a little factoid, but it just shows you how far they've fallen. Larry Stop the Hammering O'Donnell, okay, on MSDNC, on MSNBC, had the exiting interview with Joe Biden. Now, whatever you think of Biden, okay, 46th president of the United States, usually when you get the final interview with the president that's leaving office, you get big ratings. Doesn't matter who the president is. Larry O'Donnell, that show, that interview, he had lower ratings, listen to this, Andy, than reruns of Seinfeld, of The Simpsons, of Family Guy. So reruns on other cable stations literally did infinitely better than MSNBC with the outgoing exit interview with the President of the United States. I mean, if that doesn't tell you how far they've fallen, nothing will. My friends, they're finished. This is now our time. Bye-bye.